Hello again, everyone. Welcome to Washington Gun Law TV. I am Washington Gun Law President William Kirk. Thanks for joining us. This is a topic I have frequent discussions about with a lot of you folks out there, and I think it's very important that we clear this up for all of us today. So let's today spend a few minutes and talk about, can I stand my ground in Washington State? Okay, before we get rolling, if you like this video, click the like button down below. If you want to stay up to date on issues related to your Second Amendment rights, click the subscribe button down below. Click the little bell logo if you want to be notified when we post new videos. And most importantly, let's keep the comments and discussions coming so that we can get our videos out to more lawful and responsible gun owners like yourself. Okay, so the issue today that we're going to be talking about is stand your ground laws, and in turn, we're also going to be talking about the Castle Doctrine, okay? Really kind of fancy names. We've heard this terminology a lot. We heard the stand your ground laws became quite famous and or infamous during the George Zimmer trial in the shooting of Trayvon Martin. Of course, the Castle Doctrine has been brought up in several high-profile cases as well. So today what we're going to do is we're going to talk about, does Washington have a stand your ground law? Does Washington have a Castle Doctrine? Okay, so let's first define what is a stand your ground law. Well, a stand your ground law is an old English common law principle adopted in American jurisprudence that says that an individual has the right to stand their ground and use whatever force is reasonably necessary to defend themselves, so long as they are lawfully located in that place to begin with. That is, that a person really has no duty, no obligation to retreat, to try to flee the scene or do anything. If they wish, they can stand their ground and defend themselves using whatever reasonable and proportional force is necessary. The Castle Doctrine is essentially an extension of the stand your ground law, and in many ways the stand your ground law is an extension of the Castle Doctrine. The Castle Doctrine says, hey, listen, a man's home, a person's home is their castle. They're under no duty to retreat there, and therefore they can use whatever reasonable force is necessary to defend their home and the people within it. Now, many states, Florida for example, as we know, have actually codified stand your ground. There is a statute that specifically states that a person is under no duty to retreat. And many other states, Texas comes to mind, Georgia, Alabama are a couple of other states that I know have very clearly defined and delineated stand your ground laws and castle doctrines in statute. The question for us is does Washington State have such a statute? Now, for those of you who've been watching this channel for a while, you will probably have never heard us really use the term Castle Doctrine or stand your ground. And the reason for that is that Washington State does not have a stand your ground law. Washington State does not have a Castle Doctrine law. What do you say? Does that mean that we're under a duty to retreat? Actually, no, that is not the case. Washington State instead does not limit a person's right of self-defense to any geographical location. When we take a look at RCW 9A16020, which is our general self-defense statute, when we take a look at RCW 9A16050, which is the use of lethal force statute, we will see that there is no geographical restriction, there is no geographical limitation on where a person may use reasonable force. And when we take a look at case law in Washington State, we will unequivocally see that we are under no duty to retreat in Washington State. For example, the case of State v. Williams specifically states, Washington courts have consistently upheld our right to remain in a lawful location with no duty to retreat. Flight, however reasonable, as an alternative to violence, is not required. In the matter of Harvey from 2018, our Court of Appeals stated as follows. There is no duty to retreat when a person is assaulted in a place where he has the right to be, and the trial court should instruct the jury to this effect when sufficient evidence supports it. In fact, instructing a jury on the fact that we have no duty to retreat in Washington State is so critical that it has actually resulted in the overturning of murder convictions. In the matter of State v. Wooten from 1997, the Court of Appeals stated, The defendant is entitled to a no duty to retreat instruction when evidence shows that the defendant was assaulted in a place where he or she has the right to be. Such instruction need not be given, however, when it is unnecessary to the defendant's case theory, and it would be superfluous because the issue of retreat was not raised or facts show that the defendant was, in fact, in retreat. So, what is the bottom line for you, the lawful and responsible gun owner in Washington State? Well, the rule of law is this. If you are lawfully located in whatever location you happen to find yourself, you are under no duty to retreat. That is, if you are in your own place, your place of business, you are in a place that you were invited to, you are in a place that is open to the public, such as a grocery store or a shopping mall or something such as that. You are actually physically out in public, walking in a park, on a sidewalk, along a street. You are under no duty to retreat if you are confronted with unlawful force, and you therefore may use any reasonable, necessary, and proportional force to defend yourself. This is not limited to your home. This is not limited to your automobile. This is not just limited to places that you normally would be found. The lack of duty to retreat exists anywhere where you are lawfully located inside the state of Washington. In fact, I think the Williams Court really summed it up best when they stated as follows: flight, however reasonable as an alternative to violence, is not required. While the wisdom of such policy may be open to debate, the policy is one of long standing and reflects the notion that one lawfully where he is entitled to be should not be made to yield and flee by show of an unlawful force against him. And that in the best way really sums it up. So, in conclusion, if you are lawfully in a place where you are allowed to be, you are under no duty to retreat. Flight, however reasonable it may be, is not required. Now, we talk all the time here about what you have the right to do, and then we also talk about what you should do. And as a person who has handled self-defense cases for a number of years now, I can assure you that while a person is under no duty to retreat, a self-defense claim certainly does get better from an evidentiary standpoint if an individual attempts flight. If an individual attempts flight and the perpetrator, for whatever reason, continues after him, continues following him, continues chasing him, continues to verbally accost them, whatever it may be, while that person is attempting to retreat, and then after attempting to retreat to no avail, that person then turns and uses lawful force in their defense. From an evidentiary standpoint, from a prosecutorial standpoint, the case takes on a whole new meaning. From a defense perspective, this is a much better case. This person not only attempted to retreat, under which they had no duty to do, but after attempting that, only to learn that that was not going to diffuse the situation, they then and only then turn to their lawful use of force. From a prosecutor's standpoint, the lawful use of self-defense becomes far more provable at that point. It becomes a far more believable story, and the case certainly does become more problematic for them. Listen, you may have more questions about your duty to retreat or anything related to your Second Amendment rights, and if you do, don't ever hesitate to contact us at WashingtonGunLaw.com, or of course you can call us directly at 425-765-0487. Listen, part of being the lawful and responsible gun owner, like we talk about all the time here at Washington Gun Law, is to know what the law is in every situation and how it applies to you in any instance that you may find yourself. Until next time, thanks for watching. Stay safe.